accusation of theft had not been directed at a person and left to that matter. Subsequent to that, there was a point of order by the Honourable Trevor Mallard, who brought to the attention of the House the fact that Darian Fenton had been an official of the Service Workers Union, and therefore an accusation of theft against the Service Workers Union was, by implication, an accusation of theft against Darian Fenton. This piece of information might have been known to people themselves personally, but it certainly wasn't a matter that was put on the record by the Honourable Tau Henare. I ruled that whilst that may be the case, no direct accusation had been made against Darian Fenton, and therefore it was a matter of taste, and I refused to rule it out of order. The Honourable Trevor Mallard then took a further point of order and drew to the House's attention that I also had been an official of the Service Workers Union, and by implication was compromised and thought that I was inappropriate for me to rule on the matter. At that point, I simply put the motion, and the House you have been called to make a judgment. In my opinion, Mr. Speaker, the issue rests principally on the words of Mr. Tau Henare, is to making the accusation, making a statement about theft in the service workers, and it's therefore, in my opinion, he had not crossed the line on that, regardless of the positions that people held in this House held previously. I thought that they were not relevant because they had not been brought into the debate.
I'll hear from the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and the Honourable Rick Barker, I think, has summarised the situation well, and there's not much doubt about the facts of the matter. The problem, as I see it, Mr. Speaker, is that there are within the House a large number of people who know that both Mr. Barker and Ms. Fenton have had National Secretary responsibilities for that union and would be the person who is legally responsible for theft on the part of the union, and if it is theft and disbursement of stolen funds to a particular party, they would be the people who are responsible. Now, I know with Tau Henare we have to be a little bit careful about taking accusations seriously, but if anyone in the House, and I say that half the people in the House know the facts and the relationships. If people take that seriously, then it is a very bad reflection, because a very bad reflection on those two individuals. Ms. Fenton took, quite properly, took offence because Tau Henare was clearly aiming the comments at her. I think, to be generous to him, he was not attempting to reflect on Mr. Barker, who was in the chair at the time. But some of us who have been around in and out of the union movement for a period of time and do know the history are offended by that. And really the additional factor for calling you back in is that I thought it was unfair. There's always, I think, a temptation on the part of a chair to slightly overcompensate the other way, when these matters are being dealt with, and rather than, and I thought it was therefore appropriate to get Mr. Barker, the Honourable Rick Barker, out of the position where he was making a final ruling on something which a number of us knew was a reflection on him personally, and accusations that he was involved in theft and passing money on.
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think that's an interesting contribution and attempt at a justification for disrupting the business of the House. Firstly, let me make it very clear that I did not know of the previous associations of Ms. Fenton, or for that matter, the Honourable Rick Barker. But I do think the Honourable Rick Barker has made exactly the right call in this case. I can recall legislation earlier this year when we were passing taxation legislation, where repeatedly Labour members referred to this side of the House as being people who were advantaging their Tory mates. That was never pulled up by the Speaker. It was made clear that that was a comment in general in the debate. And, Mr Speaker, I think that we do need to have a robust Parliament. The shrinking violet approach that Mr Mallard wants to take at the moment is not consistent with his general offerings in the House, and he would be aware that during the debate on the changes to the employer contractor status just a couple of weeks ago, there was regular references to which suggested that this side of the House had somehow caved in. I think at one stage the term bent over was used, and had acquiesced in a number of fashions to a large corporate. That seemed simply to bring a degree of mirth to the faces on the other side of the House, and Ms Fenton was one of those who enjoyed that particular style of humour. Mr Speaker, if we are going to become so sensitive that to general comments like Mr Hanari made, the Honourable Tau Hanari made, then, Mr Speaker, we will be saying very little in this House at all. It was not the theme of his speech, and I repeat again that I think the Honourable Rick Barker has made the correct decision in ruling that there was no personal attack in that. In fact, there was simply a turn of phrase that was part of the general debate.
I'll hear Chauvel.
Mr Speaker, I just wanted to make 3 points in response to what we've heard from the Leader of the House, and I think it reflects concern on this side of the House. The first is that while Mr Brownlee may not have been present for the entire debate, members who have been present knew very well the status of Ms Fenton as General Secretary of the union concerned, because she referred to it a number of times in her speeches, which have been several on this debate, and certainly Mr Henare knew about the status of Ms Fenton in respect of this matter. The second thing is that the second relevant point is that there's a world of difference between accusing a party of advantaging its Tory mates, quote unquote, and imputing criminal behaviour to an organisation and by extension to a member who had been its principal officer. And so finally, one of Mr Barker's rulings, or one of the aspects of his ruling in rejecting the point of order, was that, rightly, this is a House of robust debate, but that if a member made a disorderly statement, or one that caused offence in the manner that it did, without, on his ruling, breaching standing orders, then the proper response from the opposition was to engage in similarly robust debate. And so in my submission, that's simply an invitation to disorder in the House, which is really why I think it's appropriate to uphold the point of order that Mr Mallard originally raised in response to the comment in support of Ms Fenton having taken offence at it.
Thank you for those comments. This is certainly a robust debate. I was listening, so I actually heard the interchange. Not all of it, I'd have to say, but it has been a robust debate. One of the things that I believe is important is that we members may feel as if they are overstepping the mark, is that they need to be very mindful of how that reflects or could reflect on somebody else. As a robust debate, however, I'd have to say that the chair of the committee is the best person to judge. He was here at the time. He was able to get the feel for what was happening in committee and what was being said and the reactions of members. And a personal reflection that was mentioned by the Honourable Trevor Mallard is Standing Order 116. That is a reflection against the member or against the party. And in the ruling that the Honourable Rick Barker made, there was no reference in terms of interpretation to that. There is a Speaker's ruling 41.6, which I'll refer members to, and that is that this is to do with the the same thing applies under the definition of personal reflection.